Aloha Jivas. Welcome. I think this is day 4 now of the reading of Bhagavad Gita as it is, 1972 version by Swami Prabhupada. We were at text 20 and we're still at the very beginning. The war hasn't started. We're just in the blowing of the conch shells to announce the start of the battle. Atta vyavastitan dristva darta rastran kapidva jaha pravrite shastra sampate danor udyamya pandavaha rishi kesham tada vakyam idam aha mahipate. O king, at that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, who was seated in his chariot, his flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows, looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. O king, Arjuna then spoke to Sri Krishna these words. Purport. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle between Ram and Ravana, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now both Ram and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Ram himself, and wherever Lord Ram is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever, and, above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee lay the signs of assured victory. Text 21 to 22. Arjuna uvacha sanayor upayor madhye ratam stapaya mechuta yavadatan niriksheham yodhu kaman avastitan Kair maya saha yodhavyam asmin rana samudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see who is present here, who is desirous of fighting, and with whom I must contend in this great battle attempt. Purport. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render a service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes great pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. As master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master of all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Text 23. Yotsyam mananavekshaham ya etetra samagataha dartarastrayasya durbodher yudhe priya chakirshavaha. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans, in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them in the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Text 24. Sanjaya uvacha evam ukto rishikesho gudakashena bharata senayor ubayor madhye stapayitva ratotamam. Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharat, being thus addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesh. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, quality, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness, or samadhi. As Rishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Text 25. Bhishma Drona Pramukataha Sarvasham Cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Pashyaitan Samavetan Kuruniti. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all other chieftains of the world, Rishikesh, the Lord, said, Just behold, Partha, all the Kurus who are assembled here. Purport. As the super soul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of the word Rishikesh in this connection indicates that he knew everything, and the word Partha, or the son of Kunti or Pritha, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicated by the Lord in friendly joking. Text 26. Tatra pasyat stitan parthaha pitrin ata pitamahan acharyan matulan britrin putran potran sikkim shtata svashuran shuridaschaiva senayor ubayor api. There Arjuna could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers, all present there. Purport. On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Bhurishrav, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Salya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshman, friends like Ashvatam, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. Text 27. Tan samikshya shakuntayaha sarvan bandhun avashtitan kripaya paraya visto vishidan idama bravit. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Text 28. Arjuna uvacha Dristvemam svajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupastitam sedanti mamagatrani mukham cha parishushyati. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Purport. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death, and so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but that he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, Yasyati bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarver gunais tatra samasate suraha hara vabhaktasya kuto mahad guna mano ratanasati davato bahi. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. That's a quote from the Bhagavatam. So I'll be reading this final verse, text 29. Vipatascha sarire me roma harshascha jayate gandivam shram shate hastat tvakchaiva paridayate. My whole body is trembling and my hair is standing on end. My bow, Gandiva, is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. Purport. There are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow, Gandiva, was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. I'm just going to show you this picture here. Here we see Krishna driving the chariot, which is on the battlefield, with Arjuna sitting behind him in the chariot. And you see their bows, they're bowmen, so when they refer to the bows, that's what they're talking about. Bows and arrows. Okay, so again, thank you for joining me today. What we heard today was really getting a feel for Arjuna and how the body reacts when you're in a state of astonishment, when you're in a state of fear. Have you ever been so afraid, whether it was for your physical safety or maybe loss of a job or loss of a loved one or something, that made you feel so vulnerable or so sad and so afraid that you feel it physically? Sometimes you just physically can't even eat because there's just like this pit in your stomach from the fear, the emotions that you have, because emotions, even though it's like transient energy that comes through to your physical body, and that's how illness can even come about when you have these imbalances and strong emotions in your energy field, whether it's your mental energy or your emotional energy that's so consumed with an overwhelming thought or an overwhelming fear, that it is reflected in the health of your physical body. So if you have any questions or comments, please share them in the comments, and I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, you'll hear more from me tomorrow. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.